Hello everybody and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show where we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to. I'm your host Marcus Lehner, and I'm joined here today by Chris Yee and Ben Storms. Say hi, guys.
Hello, I'm Chris Yee.
Hi, I am Ben Storms. Just so you guys know, so I'm recording from a different room than last week, and I know that in this room there is a mouse.
Oh.
I have found sign of it. I know it's living there.
Have you considered recording in your previous room where there's no mouse?
So the mouse also goes, this is basically just the mouse's apartment at this point. I kind of just live here too. But the main thing I want to warn you of is that I have put out a trap and put peanut butter on the trap.
So you might hear a mouse die on the
Right,
trap.
it's entirely possible. I know the mouse likes peanut butter because I already baited it with peanut butter once, and it ate off the peanut butter without setting out the trap.
Clever mouse.
It's a very skillful mouse.
Or is it a very bad trap?
It could be also a bad trap. There's a higher sensitivity setting that I put on this time, so I got my fingers crossed, but
I think you need to test the trap with your finger.
I am not doing that. No. I want to be able to continue crossing my fingers, so let's not.
I'm sorry, I need to go back for a second. Did you say there's a sensitivity lever on your mouse trap?
Yeah.
Why?
In case you only want to catch heavy mice? I don't fucking know.
They should be calibrated to mouse. There shouldn't be do you have giant rats or do you have little rats? You gotta differentiate.
What if conceivably you run a free-range mouse farm but also have a rat problem?
I think you just run a better free-range mouse farm because you have bigger mice then.
Fair enough. Okay.
Have you considered things besides traps?
See, I actually heard an interesting idea where you just take a bowl and put peanut oil in it, and then the mice go in the bowl and get stuck in there because they can't get out because they're covered in peanut oil.
What if you take a stuffed animal of a female mouse, very sexy it up, good makeup, good outfit, and then cover it in sticky honey. And then when the mouse comes and tries to get with the lady mouse, boom, it's stuck. All that fur is not coming out.
This sounds cruel and unusual, my friend.
I think you should try it. I think it sounds like a good idea.
Where do you get a sexy lady mouse stuffed animal? I'm not Googling that. I'm not going to Google that. It's not worth it. My search history is already enough shrapnel from doing this show, so...
Oh, you have some weird things like how much heroin costs from last week?
Yeah.
Alright, so let's get into the actual questions that we are here to answer. Our first question for this week is, what if water flowed up instead of down? Ben, I'm going to let you have the first stab at this.
All right. So sort of like a little ground rule thing. What we kind of decided, just checking with you guys too, is that wherever it's flowing up to, we're going to get sky oceany situation, right? That's sort of the end result here.
Sort of.
Maybe. Different interpretations.
Mine doesn't really super rely on that, but if you guys have some different interpretations, we'll just roll with those. All right. So the big thing that I realized with this is that you're going to get some very interesting changes to the planet, obviously, from this happening. So one of the first things I did was basically figure out the volume of water that flows through rivers in the world, which apparently is about 1.1 million cubic meters per second.
That sounds like a big number.
Which, that is a big number. And so my next thought was kind of okay, so that's a lot of water. Theoretically, how quickly would you drain out the ocean if you were doing this? Turns out the ocean is really big.
Also a thing I learned doing research.
So the ocean is approximately 1.347 quintillion cubic meters of water.
How many zeros is that?
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot of zeros.
It's a lot of euros. Yeah.
That's one of those big old made up numbers, huh?
Yeah, I think actually just looking here, it looks like it's about 15 zeros. So you got some water there. So I was hoping that maybe we have a nice, pretty dramatic timeline here, but actually just assuming that all of the water was flowing up and not getting replaced, it would take 56,000 years. So it's a pretty gradual process, actually.
So you literally don't have to do anything about it.
Yeah, nothing changes.
Well, there are some changes. There are some exciting changes. One of them, it's not a huge deal. About 16% of the world's power is generated by hydroelectric dams and stuff. I'm assuming all of that would immediately break.
Or would it go backwards and suck out energy?
I don't think that happens, but I'm pretty sure they did not design these things to go backwards. I just don't think they thought that was going to be possible. That seems like a reasonable assumption. One thing I didn't get too deep into, the distribution of water is going to change because, the Amazon River, its flow is 209,000 cubic meters per second, which is a fifth of that number from earlier. So if it were just all flowing there, you're going to have a lot of water in South America, like an absurd amount of water in/above/whatever South America.
Slash above. Where do you know the high point in South America?
I couldn't figure out. So it's really hard to trace through the rivers in South America because there's just like 30 rivers that all feed into the Amazon. So it actually gets kind of distributed. But speaking of high points, that's probably the most fun thing that's going to happen in this situation that I kind of realized is, as you know, or maybe you don't, and you're learning something right now, rivers cause erosion. So as rivers flow down towards the ocean, they pick up rocks and sand and shit like that and just pull it all down. And when the river slows down, it drops. When it gets to the ocean, a bunch dumps out there. I'm really sad I could not find a good number on how much sediment comes out at the basin of a river. But with rivers flowing up, it's all just going to keep going up. So if you have if the source of the water is like a mountain, it's going to build the mountain high. Like it's that has to stop somewhere. Like
Everest's days are numbered as the tallest mountain.
Right? And then like theoretically it doesn't stop if the water's going to keep flowing that way. So like eventually the earth is just going to shift into like these crazy peaks where the water's coming from.
It's just going to be like one spiky ball.
Right, yeah, it's going to be very, very exciting. But once again, this is going to take 56,000 years, apparently, so...
By that time, the world's just going to be super warm and all the water's going to evaporate anyway.
Well, also, the other fun thing is that, sort of also on that note, a lot of rivers are sourced from glaciers, so the water, I'm assuming, would flow back to them, and I don't know what happens then.
Glaciers also not designed to take all the water back.
Right. They're kind of a one-way street, I think. So
yeah, we gotta get some. What happened to these glacier engineers? Getting lazy, really.
Yeah, you gotta future-proof your glaciers, guys. It's just smart design. So I don't really have a plan to deal with this because once I realized the time frame, I was like, I mean, I can just kind of hang out and go lazy river, just go backwards now. Yay! Who the fuck cares? Like whatever.
How does this affect my local water park?
It doesn't do much to me, but it does stuff for the world over a long period of time. And I thought that was kind of cool. So that was kind of what I looked into. It was just a more... Things are going to get kind of crazy for the planet, but it gets complicated.
So, Ben, I had a more immediate consequences take on this question. I kind of had the same idea where I'm like, oh, let me calculate the rivers because I'm going to go backwards. And then I realized the rivers are just going to flow out of their bounds and water's just going to start going uphill. So there's a lot less of whatever the number was, gallons per day, and a little bit more of all of the ocean all at once. So... what I did was I kind of just took the median elevation of all the landmass on Earth, which surprised me. I don't know if you guys want to take a stab at what you think the average elevation of the Earth is compared to modern sea level.
I'd say I feel like it can't be that high. I think it's got to be like...
Yeah, I figured it'd be pretty low.
Yeah, like 60 feet.
So not the elevation of just of the land, but the elevation of the ground even under the water.
Oh, I see.
I think super low then.
Yeah, then it's very low.
It is minus 8,400 feet below current sea level. So to reiterate Ben's point, there's a lot of fucking water on this planet. So my take on it was basically anything above that was underwater, and everything below that, the water had drained away from it. So basically, more or less inverting the land masses, except now the land is basically like the northern part of the Pacific Ocean where it's deep, and then down the coast of Asia where the Mariana Trench and a bunch of other actual trenches are. And I figured the water's going to keep flowing up and up and up, so it's going to have a lot of pressure. So it's basically just going to be a giant reverse waterfall going all the way up to the top to get to the actual new sea level, which is going to be like 8,400 feet up. But assuming that all the water was on the land, that wall of water is going to be 28,000 feet tall. So really cool 5-mile waterfall going up.
And then it just gathers in the sky?
Yeah, it's like, there's probably going to be a lot of spray. It's probably just going to be raining all the fucking time.
So it's going to fall back down.
Well, when it goes over the land bits, the ocean itself will be self-contained. That's how I interpret it. I think actually what would happen is gravity would take over and just the entire planet would be covered in water. But I think that's less interesting. So that's the world we live in. I think everyone would die, but assuming we live...
Yeah, I was going to say, we live in is a strong assumption there.
Assuming we live, there's a lot of problems of all the plants are dead and all the fish are not where we are. And there's this big waterfall between us. So how do we survive? The one nice thing about this water flowing backwards is that it breaks physics, which means we get to have perpetual energy.
Ooh, that's true. I didn't think about that.
That is true. I had not considered that.
So imagine for a second, you have a little ramp, and the water goes up and up and up the ramp, and then the ramp ends, and the water falls back down into a pool, and it goes back up and up and up around the ramp again. So you just have a constantly flowing circle of water. And now, guys, I did the math on this, because I was like, well, how practical is this?
I think that should be your catchphrase. I did the math on this.
It basically is. So I wanted to find out how big a thing you would need to generate power for a home. And the question is, can you have an in-home perpetual energy unit? So I found the flow rate. I first had to figure out how fast the water's going using the flow rate equation. Tried some sizes, and once I have the flow rate, I can find the power it generates, which turns out to be about 0.55.
0.55 what?
Percent. So you're 55% efficient for like water wheels and stuff. Like you can make like fancy turbines, but in your home unit, they're going to do something cheap. At the end of the day, doing all the math out, you need 50 kilowatt hours of energy a day for the average home on the high end. Gotta be conservative here. And to get that, what you need is a water channel that is 22 inches wide with water 9 inches deep, and it needs to fall about 6 feet.
That's reasonable.
What you end up is probably a unit that's like 3 feet wide, 8 foot long, and 8 foot tall. So basically like your center wall of your house is just going to be thick. And you're just going to have this water wheel in there just constantly generating all the free power for your home.
That is a nice benefit to probably dying when this happens.
Yeah, plus you won't need to build so many because there's only going to be like 8 people left alive.
Right, especially any scuba divers who are like particularly lucky.
Yeah, 13 people in a Russian sub. I did have one side thing, because one other thing I thought of about the cool thing you can do with all this backwards flowing water is surfing becomes a much cooler sport. So surfing, you basically get like the 5 minutes where the water's going up the wave to like chill in it. But if water's flowing up all the time, you can make like surfing racetracks. You can make like a surfing NASCAR.
Well, yeah, then you just surf to the sky and then probably fall to your death, right?
Oh, no, well, it obeys gravity, so once it gets over whatever ledge it's on, it's going to go back down again. So whatever the height of your slanty wall is, it would basically be like a half pipe with water flowing up the sides. So I was wondering if you guys want to help me figure out what's the most interesting way to do this surfing sport.
Oh, that's tricky.
I like NASCAR style, like just surf races in a track. I also like half pipe tricks.
Yeah, I was torn between those two possibilities. What I'm kind of seeing in my mind is basically the luge at the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, I was picturing the same thing.
But with a bunch of people at the same time, which sounds amazing and chaotic and wonderful.
Free for all and very dangerous.
Oh, incredibly dangerous. This is a full contact sport.
Well, it's going to be like the only sport you have left because all those athletes are going to be dead.
Right, yeah.
I mean, every sport's going to be water-based.
It's a new dawn for water polo.
Oh my god. Water polo water polo is just going to be about the same. Pools are boring
Pools
now.
are really boring.
Oh, but you can have, I think you would still have like those water globes that could be cool sports. Oh wait, Final Fantasy already did it.
Hey, Blitzball, we see you.
And you'd have to be able to breathe underwater for that.
Yeah, keep forgetting about that one.
A lot of people do, weirdly, and then it's kind of the last thing they forget.
Have you guys heard of those breath holding records? They're crazy.
Oh yeah, it's absurd.
Like this guy's just like, oh yeah, I held my breath underwater for like 40 minutes. I'm like, fuck.
Are you like a whale?
Yeah. What species are you? First off, Chris, tell me about your take on the water flow.
Yeah, so I actually interpreted the question a little differently than both of you. You guys kind of focused on rivers and stuff and flowing up the rivers. I assumed that what we were talking about was basically gravity is reversed for water.
Oh, that makes it a very different question.
Yes, it's a very different question. It's also a very big question. I got flustered.
I got scared. This question scared me.
So first off, I kind of just assumed that the government figured out all the catastrophe stuff and we lived through this because I don't really want to deal with that.
Right.
I didn't want to deal with everyone dying. Good. This is pretty much going to be a preface to a lot of our questions going forward.
Yeah. So imagine a world where basically everything's just the same, like you live your normal life, but all the water flows upwards instead of down, or like falls upwards. So I wanted to walk through like my normal life, daily life things. So normally the first thing I do when I wake up is I go to the bathroom. The toilet would have to be on the ceiling.
That gets tricky.
Well, yeah, all the drainage stuff would be like backwards. So like sewage would be in the sky.
Oh, yeah. So it would be like telephone wires, but just full of shit.
Yes.
Well, so here's the problem, and I think, Chris, this is the question you're about to answer, is that when I sit down to poop, I'm usually peeing at the same time, and those don't go in opposite directions.
Yeah, so that would be a problem.
I did not consider that.
I usually take a shower, so shower would be backwards.
Wait, did you not solve it?
I'm not concerned about that problem.
I'm very concerned about this problem.
So I would take a shower. The shower would be backwards, obviously, or upside down. And then I would get a cup of coffee. And coffee, I guess you wouldn't actually need like a coffee filter, right? Because all the coffee particle things would fall downward and all the liquid would fall upward. It would separate itself.
Oh, yeah.
Would you need to make it loop? Because, like, I feel like it's going to, like, just fall through, and then you're just going to have, like, still water.
But you need to contain it somehow.
Yeah, you have, like, a door that then opens when the coffee is done.
Like, you can mix it. You can, like, shake it up together. And then, like, when you open it, they just separate.
You're going to need that coffee, because you're going to have to go back and solve those poop problems that you didn't deal with.
I actually have a solution for the poop thing, if we can...
Okay, what's your solution?
I think it's basically... You know when you go to the bank, and you're in an ATM... and they send down, like, there's, like, the hydraulic tube thing that, like, you put your check in, it shoots up back to the teller. I think it's that.
Suction.
Yes. You poop in a vessel, put that vessel in a thing, and it shoots up into the sewer tubes.
I like it.
It's efficient.
A literal poop chute.
A poop chute.
Patent it right now.
Just in case.
That's gonna help, like, constipation stuff, too, because you get, like, that little bit of extra suction just to get it going.
Okay, so thinking about coffee, I started thinking about, like, drinks and stuff, and, like, how to hold the coffee. You'd need a cup, obviously, but the cup would be upside down. And you'd have to, like, place it on like, a table open side down, right?
Yeah.
It seems unsanitary.
And then I started thinking, so, like, ceramic mugs, they're pretty heavy. So they'd probably hold the weight of the drink. But if you have, like, a styrofoam cup,
Oh.
then it would just shoot upwards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just...
Your life is bottle rockets.
Yeah, if you have just, like, a bottle of water, like a plastic bottle of water, it'll just fall upwards.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the equivalent of a kid losing a balloon.
Yeah, and that's where the meat of my answer comes from. I was thinking, what is a water bottle really like? It's basically just a mini spaceship, right? So we're going to a space program. I think replacing fuel with water will save tons of money. So I looked at how much NASA has spent over the course of 60 years for a space shuttle program. How much do you think they spent?
60 years. That's when they had money still back when.
I mean, trillions?
2 trillion. 2
More
trillion.
than that.
Oh, you guys overguessed.
Oh. All right, we drastically underfund the scientists in this country. I forgot.
I wish we paid NASA 2 trillion. Maybe we would have gone to the moon again.
So 601 billion.
Okay, that's not too far off.
Okay, all right.
So that averages out to about 1.5 billion per launch, because they've done like over 100 launches or something. Now that's a good amount of money. SpaceX has sort of improved on that. Their Falcon 9 space shuttle, the cost per launch is 62 million. And then their Falcon Heavy, which is a little more powerful than the 9, is 90 million per launch.
Could they really not think of another name than just Falcon Heavy?
Well, it's heavier, it's beefier, it's cool.
It's a bad beer.
It's like, how are we going to differentiate this from the Falcon 9? Well, it's heavier. You've got it!
So we're looking at, we're trying to be cost effective here. So I'm going to look at the cheaper one, Falcon 9, which is 62 million. And the fuel consumption for a Falcon 9, it consumes liquid oxygen and RP1, which is like a rocket grade kerosene. And I did all the calculations. It turns out those two things mixed together cost a total of around $322,000 per launch. So that's a good amount of money per launch. If we replace all that with water, so let's look at water. In order for the water to send the space shuttle to space, you basically just need the mass of the water to be greater than the mass of the ship, right? Because gravity is only affected by the mass of the object and the distance from the Earth, and they're both going to be the same distance from the Earth.
Checks out. Physics checks out.
So, if the water is only like 1 pound more in the opposite direction than the spaceship, then it'll go up. I found out that you need 550 liters of water to do that.
Oh, that's actually more than I expected.
Yeah, so that's compared to 436 liters of fuel that you would need. So it's a little more. You probably need to expand the fuel tank a little more, but it's not that much more.
And also, it's free. Like, you just keep that shit in there.
Yeah, it's super cheap.
Dump out, like, your 2 pounds that you're over, and then you just go back down.
I looked up the cost of water. How much do you think the total cost would be for that much?
Bottled water? Probably, like, 334 million.
Actually, more than the rocket fuel.
Yeah, more than the rocket fuel. You want Dasani in that bitch? You're gonna have to pay up.
So to get that amount per launch, it would be $500.
That's not bad. That seems reasonable for a rocket launch.
Yeah, so $500 for a rocket launch.
I'm gonna make a slight point here.
Yeah.
You've basically invented a big space balloon.
Yeah, I know.
Wind is gonna be still problematic, I think.
Wind will be problematic, but I mean, as long as there are no obstacles in your way, right, as you're going up, it doesn't really matter if you're getting blown around.
I actually thought of a bigger problem, I think.
What?
So the thing that makes objects slow down when they're going through the air is gravity. But in this situation, the gravity's just going to keep speeding it up.
That's why it works so well. I mean, it would just keep on pushing it up and up and up, and then eventually you can just detach it, right?
Oh, I guess that's true.
It's definitely eventually going to space. Like, this is getting you to space.
Yeah.
This is good. This works. I like your process. I like getting here from, man, I can't poop right.
Well, that was you. You brought that up. The one problem I saw was if you launch water into space and it doesn't fall back down to Earth and you detach it in space, you're basically just throwing away Earth's water. If you keep on doing that, we're going to run out of water.
I wasn't sure. It wasn't part of your setup because I think this would kill us all. But if water just went opposite of gravity, all the oceans would just float away.
Well, I figured they found some way to capture it before it went into space.
A big glass ball.
I'm also going to assume we're ignoring the fact that I think the human body is like 90% water or whatever.
Yeah, it's 60% water, so all of us would die anyway.
Oh no, all of us would float anyway. Oh my god.
All of us would slowly float into space and then die.
I think we would be okay, because I mean, most of us are going to be inside, and I think I could figure out a solution to not float into space by the time I decided to go outside.
Actually, I looked it up, and fatter, like obese people have less water in their body because fatty tissue or whatever is less water dense than lean tissue. So all the fat people would live.
Well, that's a good thing. I think that's the takeaway.
Yeah.
Is if water flowed backwards, all the fat people would live.
The end.
And I think with that, we're going to go over to our sponsors.
Oh, we got real sponsors this time?
Shit!
This Saturday, don't miss the fight of the century. Roast Beef Randy versus the Frymeister. Two fast food mascots battle it out for the top spot in the fast food chain. The rules are simple. There are no rules. Watch them bite, scratch, claw, chop, and slice their way to victory. With special guest judge, Nacho Van Candy. Who will make it out alive? Find out this Saturday on Food Kill Network. The only place where food meets violence.
Coming soon to a theater near you. From the minds behind the Doritos Locos Taco, a smash hit musical comedy, Livin' La Doritos Locos. Ricky Martin is Chip, the ambitious but cracked Chip who can't seem to find love. But everything changes when he visits Cool Ranch Ranch. Critics are raving over La Doritos Locos. Upside inside out, says the Boston Globe. Full of mostly hot air, but keeps you coming back for more, says New York Times. Crunchy, yet satisfying, says Pumbaa. Is the flavor-blasted movie you don't want to miss. Rated PG-13 for nudity and gratuitous violence.
Man, I really think this podcast is going places. And when I want to go places and don't care how smooth the ride is, I take an awkward segue. It's not quite as nice as a regular segue, but it'll eventually get you where you want to go. Just hop on, lean forward, and hold on tight as you wiggle and wobble your way mostly towards your destination. Make sure to wear a helmet for maximum safety and awkwardness. Get your awkward segue today.
Wow, those were some awesome ads from our sponsors. I'm going to dive right into the next question, guys. And the question is, what if you're always off by a factor of 10? So, anytime you try to communicate a number, speaking, writing, etc., you want to write 10, you write 1 or 100. And you can't choose which one you do. So you're always off by 10 in a random direction. This obviously makes finding employment very difficult, because anything that involves numbers, math, money, anything with money, you just really can't do anything with it.
That's basically everything, right?
Yeah, it's basically all jobs, and I had a really tough time finding one.
There are very few options.
I have found one I think works, and I think you could actually do. I think you need to be the narrator on one of those Discovery Channel deep space shows. Because all these numbers are just so made up anyway, that doesn't matter if you're off by a factor of 10.
Yeah, when you're saying that something is like 800 trillion miles away, it's not quite as big of a deal, I guess.
So what I've done is I made a little game for you guys.
Ooh.
Oh.
So I have a couple questions here, and I'm going to read them off with different numbers, off by factors of 10. And you're going to tell me which one's the real one. So we'll start off easy. The sun is 930 million miles from Earth. The sun is 9.3 billion miles from Earth. The sun is 93 million miles from the Earth. Which one of these, guys? You just heard it on my space show, so now you know.
The billion one.
I feel like it's the billion one.
Nope.
Damn it.
It is 93 million miles from Earth. You're off by a factor of 100.
Well, what are you gonna do?
You would have fooled us.
Yeah.
Just gonna keep iterating here. Approximately 1.3 million Earths could fit in the sun. Approximately 13,000 Earths could fit in the sun. Approximately 130,000 Earths could fit in the sun.
I'm gonna say 1.3 million on this one.
Yeah, same.
That one you guys are actually right.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
1 for 2.
1 for 2.
Well, see, so I know how far the sun is from us now. And I know it looks pretty big still, so it's got to be pretty big.
It's gotta be pretty big, like somewhere in that area. Alright, one more. The temperature of the sun's surface is 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. The temperature of the sun's surface is 100,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And the temperature of the sun's surface is 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
The biggest one was at 100,000.
Yep.
I say 10,000.
Oh, was that your guess, Ben?
Yes.
It is 10,000 degrees on the surface of the sun.
Man, I think I just assumed that space things are big, hot, and far.
And once you get into deep space, you don't even have to be close by 10. So this one, they're off by a factor of 1,000. The distance to Alpha Centauri is 4.3 light years. The distance to Alpha Centauri is 4,300 light years. The distance to Alpha Centauri is 4.3 million light years.
I have no concept of how far a light year is in my head.
The middle one? I'm going to say the middle one.
Sure, the middle one.
Nope, it is just 4.3 light years away.
Oh, well,
That's not that far.
just next door.
You just have absolutely no fucking idea. This one I put on just because it's a fun fact. A neutron star can spin up to 6 times a second. A neutron star can spin up to 60 times a second. A neutron star can spin up to 600 times a second.
Oh, God, I have no idea.
That's the 600.
I'm going to say 60, so that way there's a better chance that one of us is right.
Yeah.
It is 600.
Damn it.
I think I'm getting more right.
I'm bad at this game.
Now, you do have to be careful, though. You have to be very selective about what you're narrating, because here's where you can get into trouble. There are 8 planets in our solar system.
I was just going to say this one.
There are 80 planets in our solar system. There are 0.8 planets in our solar system.
0.8.
I mean, at this fucking rate, if they keep taking away planets like they did with Pluto, we're going to get there.
Yeah, we're gonna be just us, and Florida doesn't count.
Well, Florida makes up 0.2?
Yep. Well, somewhere around there. I don't know. I'm off by a factor of 10. I mean, that pretty much proves it. This is exactly what you would hear on that show, and it's just, people don't know, and you're never gonna check.
Yeah, it's okay, that's fine. Yeah, whatever.
Even if you check it, you're just gonna assume the show is right. You're not gonna listen to scientists. That's not what we do.
You listen to famous narrators. I believe David Attenborough over a scientist.
I don't believe David Attenborough over my own mother. All right. I mean, that's pretty much what I got. I think that's the dream job.
Yeah, that works out. I think you proved your point.
You have definitely shown that numbers are stupid and arbitrary. So I went on the same path where I was trying to figure out what you could possibly do to make a living when you are going to be so egregiously wrong about everything. And yeah, definitely anything with a transaction, you can't do. It's not going to really work. And really, preferably, whatever you do, assuming you're actually decent at it, you want it to be a job where generally you'll have some kind of manager or something to take care of number related things for you.
Also at home, a nice spouse to do your taxes.
Right. Cook, you're going to go through eggs pretty quickly otherwise. So the thing that I kind of sell on eventually, and I think this is actually a thing where in many ways you could actually be maybe more successful with this particular disability, is being an artist. Because all you got to do is just learn the proportion of things and then just think about them and then just fuck them up in this way. And you're basically Picasso. You can't prove that Picasso wasn't actually doing this the whole time. If you were to go back and tell me that Picasso actually was always off by a factor of 10, I'd be like, that actually makes more sense now.
You figured it out, Ben. This question was secretly, what if you're Pablo Picasso? And I thought he would just make a really good scientist.
Right, yeah. So I think that's really interesting, because then it's anything that you try to, paint or draw, whatever you do, if you're just okay, well, that's about twice the size of that, your picture's going to get a lot more interesting than it would be if you were drawing it accurately.
Have you thought about what kind of, buying a canvas for yourself might be difficult?
Right. I did consider that. I figured that digital art might make more sense, because then you might have to, go to a high resolution, but it's not going to, bankrupt you on art supplies. So, then it seems a little more reasonable. The other thing I was considering is that obviously, it's very easy to say, oh, be an artist, but it's actually pretty hard to make a living as an artist. So I thought you kind of might need to sort of have like a side gig to make a little money on the side, And in the same sort of genre, I feel like this particular talent, I guess, would lend itself very well to being a caricature artist.
Oh!
So you just go out to the park, you start drawing people, and then the most important part of this process, the thing that makes it actually possible, is that obviously that is a transaction-based thing. So you have a very prominent sign that says exact change only.
Yes.
I don't know how frequently caricature artists have managers as well. I think it's just like $20, get someone to check the sign for you, and then exact change only.
Yeah, you can't do negotiations because you're gonna be a little tough out and be like, yeah, your sign says $10 for a caricature, and they're like, oh, how much for a caricature? $100. Oh, well, fuck you too.
Well, no, here's the thing though, is that you could be very good at negotiation if your luck comes out correctly, because they'll be like $10, and you'll be like $100. They'll be like, whoa, oh, okay. $8, 80. Oh man, I don't know. All right, what about like $20? 40
cents. 40 cents.
That's why you never specify units. That gives you wiggle room.
I guess if you're at $8 and you don't specify units, you're at 80 either way, right?
Perfect. We cracked the code.
I think you could have a very quick and successful career as a weatherman.
I thought about that one too, or like so the thing is I also considered were like weatherman or anything that's like predictions, because if you're doing those things, people aren't going to expect that you're actually like 100% accurate. But at a certain point, when you say that, you're the weatherman in Miami and it's June and you say it's going to be 8 degrees Fahrenheit out the next morning, people are going to start doubting you a little bit too much, I think, for the station to really keep you on.
That's pretty tame, because I was going to go the other way and say when it's June in Miami and you say it's 880 degrees tomorrow.
I mean, it can feel like that sometimes, so...
You might get... That might be meme-worthy.
I mean, I think that might make you more popular. They'll be like, this weatherman's crazy. I like him.
He's really sure. There's a 300% chance of rain tomorrow.
He's a loose cannon.
He's playing on the fact that weathermen are always wrong. He's doing it ironically.
You're a postmodern weatherman. Postmodern Weathermen is a great name for a band.
That's a great name for our podcast. Can we switch it? Is it too late?
Unfortunately, yes.
Damn it.
So yeah, that's kind of my idea, was go into art, use your talents in a way that'll get you noticed.
Okay. Well, both of you kind of just like accepted this fate upon you and tried to find a job that would work. I went the route of trying to fix this problem.
Oh, that might have been smart.
That would have made a lot more sense.
Why didn't I think of that?
So basically, if you're able to explain your situation to someone, then everything's fixed because then they understand what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The problem is you can't just say, I'm always off by a factor of 10. You're just going to say, I'm always off by a factor of 100, or I'm always off by a factor of 1.
Oh, no. Someone get a mathematician in here. We've got a formula. We need a proof.
I would hope that if you said you're always off, if you mean to say you're off by a factor of 10, you say by a factor of 1, people would realize you were trying to say 10. Because being off by a factor of 1 is what you do normally.
That's the thing. You can figure it out if you're smart enough, but...
Most people aren't.
Do you want to rely on people's intelligence?
I try to avoid doing that as much as possible.
Also, Ben, that would be true of if you're off by any factor and you say I'm off by a factor of 1, it doesn't narrow it down. Because if you're off by a factor of 100 and you say 100, you still can say 1.
Oh, right. That's a good point.
So the way this works is that you can't pick which direction you go, but I assume it's like 50-50 which way it goes, right? So you either say 100 or you either say 1.
Yeah.
It can go either way. So I was thinking you could just keep on repeating this sentence. I'm always off by a factor of 100. I'm always off by a factor of 100. I'm always off by a factor of 100. The first time you say I'm always off by a factor of 1, you stop and you say, okay, those numbers I just said, logarithmically the middle.
Logarithmically the middle.
And then you hand them your card that defines logarithmically.
A dictionary or something.
The question is a middle too close to half? Because what if you say 1/20th?
The problem with this is it's not guaranteed. There's still a possibility you'll say I'm off by a factor of 1 like 50 times in a row, right?
Mm-hmm.
And statistically impossible.
What?
I mean, it's statistically just not going to happen, Chris.
It could. It's possible.
It's literally statistically possible. That's how statistics work.
Wait, no, that's the opposite of how statistics work. It's possible is how math works, right? Logarithms? Hey, logarithms.
And it's also reliant on them knowing what logarithms are.
Right.
And still, I guess, intelligence a little bit. So luck and intelligence. So that's no good. So at this point, I kind of ditched the explanation plan, and instead I tried to come up with a replacement number system, like something that could replace numbers. So the first system I came up with was a clock system, where you basically just hold your arms in positions based on what number you want to say. So if you want to say 3, then you hold your arm out to the right, and if you want to say 6, you hold it down, and so on.
I really hope that you, Marcus, also just tried that, because I definitely just did.
I did. I didn't almost knock over something either. My water is totally upright and didn't fall on the floor.
Yes, glad we avoided that. Anyway, sorry, Chris, continue.
So this system should work. The problem is it's only visual. You can't say anything. So if you're like on the phone, it's not going to work.
Oh, well, see, I do that anyway. I always like describe things on the phone with my hands. I'm like, I caught a fish this big, and I put my hands out, and the other person on the phone, not being rude, is like, oh, great. And I'm like, yeah. And then I continue the conversation, not realizing they didn't know how big my fish was.
Well, they can understand how big it was by how long you say the word this. It was this big.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the number of eyes in this is actually, like, directly correlated with the length of the fish.
The second problem for the clock system is perspective. So if you hold your arm out to the right and you mean 3 o'clock, someone looking at you, that might be 9 o'clock to them, right? So I figured this wasn't really the best system. The second system I came up with was the month system. Basically, just January through October is 1 through 10, and you can basically just do all the numbers like that. The problem with that is months come up in conversation quite a lot. So if you want to say the date, like if you're asking what my birthday is and I want to say January 3rd, I'm going to say January, March. That's not going to make any sense.
No.
Or if you go to Starbucks and like they have a seasonal special, like and you want to order 3 of them, you're going to be like, can I have the March, please?
Yeah. If you go to like Dunkin' Donuts and you want to order 12 donuts, you'll be like, I want December donuts. And they'll think you just want a holiday donut.
No one wants a holiday donut.
So I'm guessing this one didn't work either then.
Yeah. So I need to come up with a system that uses phrases that aren't commonly used in language, but people can still identify the number. So the third system I came up with was the 12 Days of Christmas system.
Oh my.
Oh, God.
So everyone knows the 12 Days of Christmas song, right? Drummers drumming, pipers piping, lords a leaping.
Yeah.
Mostly.
And none of those, except for one. 5 gold rings, that might be used in some cases, but everything else...
You are gonna say 50 gold rings.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you say gold rings to replace 5.
Exactly.
So I guess if you're ordering like a ring or something, then gold rings wouldn't really work.
Yeah.
But everything else wouldn't come up in conversation, like lords a leaping. Why would you ever say that? Ladies dancing, I guess you might say that. Maids a milking. Swans a swimming. Geese a laying. Calling birds. French hens. Turtle doves, partridge in a pear tree.
That's my number, girl. Dial it sometime.
What is 911?
911 is ladies dancing, partridge in a pear tree, partridge in a pear tree.
That's very catchy. I like it.
So it's going to be a lot of words. Can I recommend an alternate name system that's going to let you get to higher numbers easier?
Sure.
The Pokemon. There's like 700 of these fucking things right now.
I mean, the thing is you only need 1 through 10, right?
And just about everyone knows the first 10. Well, the first 9. It's just Bulbasaur, and then Squirtle, and then Charmander's evolutions. And that's the first 9 right there. That's all you need for digits.
How do you know which is which?
Don't you just know? Bulbasaur is number 1.
Obviously.
Ivysaur is number 2. Venusaur is number 3. Charmander's number 4. And so on and so forth in that order.
Duh. Why didn't I think of that?
That may or may not be accurate. I don't actually remember.
It is 100% accurate, and I will guarantee it.
Marcus, that doesn't surprise me in the least that you are so confident in this fact.
The thing is, if you have someone willing to, the people you know better are going to get comfortable with your numbers, and you can get all the way up to numbers like 500, and I never use numbers bigger than 500 anyway in my daily life. So once, your SO knows all the Pokemon, you're all set.
I mean, that's just a good thing to make sure of anyway. Like, let's be honest here, guys.
So the one problem with the 12 Days of Christmas system is that you can't really use it during the holidays because everyone sings 12 Days of Christmas, but no one really likes Christmas songs anyway, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a lot of people would also be hard-pressed to remember all 12 days, so you can just maybe get in there with your numbers.
I mean, if you are singing the 12 Days of Christmas, then it's just going to be drummers drumming, pipers piping, lords a leaping, ladies dancing, maids a milking, swans a swimming, geese a laying, gold rings, calling birds, French hens, turtle doves, and a partridge in a pear tree.
That's very frantic.
I like the double, yeah, I think we need this modernization of like double upbeat Christmas songs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So That's basically the perfect system, I think. But then I was thinking,
how many systems do you have?
no, I have this perfect system to say the numbers I want. So I circled back to my explanation. I can say 10 now. So I just say, I'm always off by a factor of Lords of the Leaping. They'll be able to figure it out.
I still think, you know what, one thing that sucks about this, though, is just, and I guess you'd have to do this for all cases, is you gotta explain this to every single person you meet, every time you go anywhere to buy anything or exchange anything.
For, like, people that you hang out with all the time, you only have to do it once. And then they can explain for you when you're around other people.
I guess you could always just be with people. This is very codependent. You're gonna be very dependent on other people to get this done.
It's better than diverting your whole career path.
You say diverting, I say improving.
I mean, you can still be a science narrator with my number system.
I very much want to hear David Attenborough sing 12 Days of Christmas now.
Oh my god, I think I would just orgasm. I think by the end of it, you would just be so relaxed and so aroused at the same time that, like, you just wouldn't... your brain would just not cease to function, and that would be the end of you. But you would die happy.
Let's start a petition.
Please, how many petitions? There must be so many petitions online already of people, like, getting David Attenborough to say...
Yeah, I'm going to look it up. It's going to be already a thing.
I was actually just wondering what his Twitter mentions look like. I feel like it's just people asking him to say things.
Probably. But not asking him to sing things.
You know who does it? Arnold Schwarzenegger has a kind of like an AMA day where you can just ask him to say anything and he'll just record a quick video of him saying it in his, like, you know, Terminator voice.
I think Samuel L. Jackson does something like that too.
God, I want to be that popular sometime. That would be so cool. Except I have a stupid voice and people wouldn't want to hear it.
Yeah, it's like, I'm Marcus.
That was spot on.
Yeah, I heard it.
I couldn't understand why Marcus was making fun of himself in such a fashion.
You could market it like those glitter bombs where it's like a negative thing you send to your enemies.
It's like you sneakily replace your enemy's voicemail message with this message.
I just say happy birthday whoever and put it in a voice card. And when they open it, it's like, happy birthday. And it's like, oh, I didn't really like that. And it's like, yeah.
That's the point.
And the thing is, you can play it off and be like, oh, you know, I thought it was nice. But like secretly you're like, gotcha, bitch. That'll teach you to steal my lunch at the office.
Patent it.
I don't think you can patent your own voice. It's not something like this, and you just put a waveform and send it to the patent office, and you're like, this is me. Everyone else, back off.
Also, like, I don't think that's something you can, like, enforce with patent law. What do you do if someone was born with the same voice as you? Like,
you sue them. That's what you do.
Yeah, you just take all their money, like, and then they do it again. And you're like, second violation, fines are doubled.
I mean, we live in America, so you can sue them.
That's a good point.
All right, I think that just about does it for this week's questions. So, what are our questions for next week? First one we have here is, what if the floor actually was lava? Classic hypothetical. And then after that, what if news reporting just stopped? If you have any questions, comments, or your own hypothetical idea you want us to answer, let us know. You can reach us by email at absurdhypotheticals@gmail.com. Send us a tweet at absurdhype. That's HYPE hype. Visit our website, www.nerdchomp.com/absurdhypotheticals. And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. It really helps out the show and lets us keep making it for you.